Tonight on 16 by 9, brazen gangs with bold tactics.
They ransacked the store and took $2.5 million.
Coming over the border to hit merchants, carrying precious gems.
99.999 of the cases are South American gangs, Colombian gangs.
Here's Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9. They are highly trained, hard-to-catch criminals with a target: diamonds. Often South American gangs, jewel thieves run a sophisticated scheme netting tens of millions of dollars every year. Their prey? Traveling salesmen who visit stores carrying briefcases full of gems. As Sean O'Shea reports, in Canada, attacks are up dramatically, and so is the brazenness of the crimes.
It looks like a commando raid, but it's really an urban crime, and it will be over in a matter of seconds. The victim is a 54-year-old salesman from Los Angeles on a sales trip to Toronto last November. He never had a chance. For good measure, the crook slashes tires, then they're gone, with $700,000 in jewels and cash. Here's another hit. It's early morning last September at a mall in Burnaby, BC. A janitor is doing his rounds when suddenly the plate glass doors explode. Again, it's all over in a minute or two. The Jeep Cherokee smashes into two jewelry stores, and the crooks rush in, emptying the displays. Another bad day in the jewelry trade.
Does it surprise you that people are coming after you guys?
It would surprise me if they were not coming after us.
Is somebody going to get killed one of these days?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
It's a sneak blitz attack. They're in and they're out and they're gone.
The rewards are rich. Since 2010, losses from major jewelry crimes in Canada have shot up from $8 million to over $14 million. That's more than a 70% rise. And industry sources say the real numbers could be twice as high or more because some victims are not insured and don't report the heists.
Now, that you can see is a spectacular stone.
Everybody you talk to in this business has a horror story to tell. Jack Berkovitz runs a number of jewelry stores in Toronto.
4 guys, all in hoodies, with submachine guns, entered our store. They were buzzed in by our staff. Guns were put to their heads, 4 staff members put on the floor. They ransacked the store, emptied out, destroyed the store, and took $2.5 million.
99.999 of the cases are South American gangs, Colombian gangs.
John J. Kennedy is a New York-based jewelry security expert. He sat down with 16 by 9 to talk about the lengths to which the gangs, mostly Colombian nationals, will go.
We've had salesmen, for example, who had a robbery committed against them in a parking lot. They tried to pursue the car, tried to jump on the car and try to get their bag back. And of course, the Colombians pushed them off and then backed their car over them and killed them. So, I mean, the ultimate danger is that you get killed.
That hasn't happened yet in Canada, but many fear it's only a matter of time. Jewel robbery used to be much more straightforward, like this holdup in Vancouver, all caught on camera. First, 2 men come in and casually inspect the goods. Then an accomplice walks in. He produces a gun and hammers, and they go to work. They get away with $250,000 in gems. But the pictures are so clear, 2 of the crooks are arrested within a year. So the holdup teams are changing their tactics. Instead of the stores with their security cameras and alarms, some gangs are targeting the traveling salespeople where they're most vulnerable, in their homes, and even more commonly, on the streets. Gordon Smith is an insurance broker in Vancouver.
Streets like these, this is the place where these guys are doing their business. This is where the gangs are
This
coming.
is where they are. Yeah,
This is ground zero.
this is it. They're here. They may very well be watching you to see if you've got something interesting that they may want to take home with them.
From a business perspective, it's great business for them.
Fantastic. They steal your goods and make a ton of money out of it and drive somebody else's vehicle that they just stole.
With minimal risk.
Cops can't be everywhere.
Police are still learning how to deal with the gangs. Take Calgary, for example. In the last 2 years, there have been 12 major jewel heists, each with a value of up to $600,000. There hasn't been a single arrest. And in Chilliwack, BC last August, the mother of all hits, $3.3 million worth of gems stolen from the trunk of a parked car while the guards were enjoying a Starbucks coffee. So far, no word of arrests or even any leads. It's different south of the border. John Kennedy works near New York's Diamond District. Much of the world's diamond production flows through here, and it used to be a high-risk area for jewel crime. But then, police cracked down.
It's not that we've eliminated it in the U.S. completely, but it is a tremendous decline. 10, 12 years ago, we would have maybe 350 of these traveling salesmen would be hit in a year. Now we're more like down to 50. So it's like a seventh or sixth or seventh of what it would be.
That success against the gangs in the U.S. created a problem north of the border.
I don't track the Canadian crime, but I speak to the people who do all the time. And there's certainly been an upsurge of this activity in Canada, and I think that it probably has been that they have been in some measure chased out of the U.S. and are now more active up north of the border.
The gang migration hurt Canadians badly. Insurance broker Gordon Smith.
The amount of claims and the value in actual losses and so on is probably 1,000% increase.
1,000%.
Yes, in a 10-year period. That's why it's laughable when they say that major crimes are on the decline.
They're fearless. These are fearless people.
Jeweler Jack Berkovitz says the gangs prospered in Canada.
They know the value of jewelry. They can't be cheated when they dispose of their jewelry. And they also know that Canada is extremely soft on crime. So all those elements together make Canada the paradise for people who would profit from crime in the jewelry industry.
A robber's paradise with a diamond marketplace that's almost impossible to regulate.
North America is probably the best continent in the world for disposing of these products.
Kelly Ross is the RCMP's one-man diamond task force. A big part of his job is to track how jewel thieves in Canada launder the proceeds of their crimes. He says it's not an easy job because the jewels pass through so many hands.
You get your retailers and you've got your diamond distributors and manufacturers and wholesalers and whatnot. And most of them, depending on where they are, will purchase diamonds from a layperson, somebody that, like yourself or myself, off the street, and enter that back into the market. That's prolific.
In his cramped Edmonton workroom, Ross is studying a handful of rough diamonds. They were found by Canadian border agents under the soles of the feet of a smuggler from West Africa. The value, about $40,000.
This is a jewelry cycle. Been going on for thousands of years.
In that cycle, diamonds are like a universal currency that never stops moving. One day in the open marketplace, the next in the hands of criminals.
When you've stolen a diamond, how easy is it to move that diamond?
In a matter of seconds, I can unload any quantity of diamonds. Seconds, I can have a bidding war. They have a lineup of people willing to take it off their hands.
When talking about diamonds, experts use the acronym CRAVED. The letters stand for concealable, removable, available, valuable, enjoyable, and disposable. And that makes life easy for a jewel thief.
For a criminal to acquire jewelry through a theft or a robbery, they have outlets virtually anywhere, certainly in every major North American city to sell this product.
Then things wind up in the pipeline. In other words, this corrupt fence will sell it to a less corrupt person in the industry, and then it gets out eventually into even very legitimate circles in the industry.
For criminals, then, there's no problem converting the gems to cash. Detective Doug Bedford of the York Regional Police, north of Toronto.
In a very short period of time, you divvy up $250,000, $500,000, $1 million amongst a crew of 4 or 5 or 6. You know, the windfall's quite large.
Because details and dollar figures are almost never released, the robberies get very little news coverage.
There's not a lot of notoriety about it, media attention. It's astoundingly quiet. Somebody can be robbed in the city, a jeweler can be robbed, a retail store, and I'll go and see somebody else a few miles away, and they won't know that it's happened.
Smith, we then learned, knows the hazards of the job better than most, because he himself was a victim of the very gangs he warns about.
You still have nightmares?
Oh, of course, yes. Wake at 3 in the morning going, it's a shocking thing. I still see that guy coming through the window with his hands going for my throat.
Next on 16 by 9, stopping at nothing
They would have plastic surgery so that they can get back in the game.
to pull off a heist.
Sometimes the gangs come quietly with guns. Sometimes it's worse. Insurance broker Gordon Smith was in his car outside a Calgary jewelry store last April when a man approached the passenger side and smashed the car window.
The whole interior of the car is just full of glass. I'm covered in glass. He now comes through the window, and he's a young guy, probably 25, 28 years of age, very well built, big shoulders, strong guy. And he comes through the window with both of his hands going for my throat. And of course, he's much stronger than I am. He's got the bag, and he's gone.
The thief leapt into a passing van. Ironically, all he got was an empty briefcase.
So off they went. Then the police arrived.
7 people, 2 vehicles, one dressed like a Sikh.
Yes.
Break in, take your case.
Yeah.
Never solved.
Well, the police haven't called me to say, guess what, we found these guys. No.
How did it make you feel?
Well, it's a terrorizing experience.
So that event still wakes you up?
Of course it does.
It still bothers you?
Yes, very much so.
You've talked to a lot of people who've been hit.
Yes.
Are they scared?
Oh, they're scared out of their minds.
So scared, in fact, that we couldn't find a single jewel salesman to talk to us on the record. They're terrified of being singled out by the gangs. Gangs that U.S. security expert John Kennedy says are committed to their work because for many, it's a career learned in childhood.
We've had people that they will change their fingerprints. They will burn and have serious chemical and surgical efforts made so that their fingerprints are altered. They would have plastic surgery in order to change their appearance so that they can get back in the game.
Toronto area detective Doug Bedford.
They're using military police techniques of surveillance in cars, surveillance on foot, communicating through cell phones, walkie-talkies.
RCMP Corporal Kelly Ross.
They're crafty. And one of their ways they do their business is by being transient. They don't just park themselves in Toronto or Calgary or Vancouver for any one time. They move. And it appears that people within the groups, they might have one group here, and people within these groups actually change too, so it's not even the same groups. That makes it very difficult for law enforcement to try and pin them down.
They like to isolate their victim so that there's nobody around.
They will use 4 or 5 vehicles at times to follow someone, different vehicles with 2 people in each car, and they will vary who's following. We have people being followed 500 miles, 800 miles.
They overwhelm their subject through voice, yelling, commands. They're smashing windows out. They're puncturing tires to prevent the subject from following them once they leave. They're premeditated and very motivated people.
Toronto jeweler Jack Berkovitz says the thieves will often try to distract a salesman.
One of their favorite techniques is to spritz some mustard or ketchup onto their lapel by mistake, sort of, and then as they hand them something to wipe the mustard off, the bags disappear.
Here's another common trick. The salesman is distracted by a $20 bill left near his car. Just enough time for the crook to grab his case and make a quick getaway.
The jewelry industry is one of the most dangerous businesses that you can get into.
A jeweler's security group in the U.S. was so concerned by these tactics, it produced a video for its members. Things to watch out for, like the crooks who puncture your tire, then follow you out on the highway.
What are you doing? Hey, back up. Hey, give it back. Turn around. Turn around. All right, turn around.
Salesmen are told to fight back with counter-surveillance and evasion, almost like spy versus spy.
On sales calls, we advise that they always take evasive driving action before they go to their home. Drive quickly and see if they're following. You make U-turns, make rapid left turns, pull into a fast food place, pull into a bank, and see if people stop or are following you or appear to be following you, and then reverse direction for a while.
Another way of fighting back is to get to know the criminal better. In this video, Detective Bedford interrogates a Colombian-born gang member who came to Canada via the U.S.
Do you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
His name is DeAndre. He's 21, and he learned as a boy that stealing meant survival.
Like, how little are you when you start doing this in Colombia?
I was about 14 years old.
Okay. And just trying to make some money again, get by?
Yes, sir. That's basically what they're gonna teach you. Wherever you are, wherever you go, you ain't gotta suffer, like be hungry or need to be asking people for stuff.
Against this kind of expertise, says Jack Berkovitz, the only safe way to carry jewels may well be armored cars and guards.
I never travel with jewelry anymore. The armed guard services are really good at what they do. They're highly protected, they're armed. The perpetrators don't want to mess with these guys because they are trained.
Berkovitz says police in Canada aren't focused enough in their fight against the jewel robbers. He may be right. Shortly after our interview, Kelly Ross, the RCMP's only diamond expert, announced his retirement from the force. And despite his success against the gangs in the Toronto area, Detective Bedford has since been transferred to the drug squad. John Kennedy is tactful on the subject of anti-jewel gang efforts in Canada.
It takes a little work to convince the authorities, the police authorities and whatnot, that this is a significant crime that should be pursued.
But more police work may only do so much in a business where a few grams of rock have such enduring value and appeal to the criminal mind. It's a conversation Jack Berkovitz remembers having with his father.
I promised my father, when I asked him for permission to go into the jewelry business, or asked him for his blessings, he said, it's a dangerous business, don't go into it. And I said, Dad, I will never, ever put myself in a position of jeopardy. And I was wrong and he was right. It's a dangerous business.
And that is our broadcast for tonight. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. From all of us here at 16 by 9, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.